Hochi, who is an entrepreneur. Gentlemen, very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us on New Dawn. Dr. Omolo, let's begin with you. Just give us a quick background on what necessitated this Nyanza International Investment Conference.
Good morning, and thank you for having us this morning. Just to provide some context in terms of why we decided that we needed to have this international investment conference, is that taking into account the introduction of the devolution system in Kenya, we have had a system where counties compete against each other to attract investment. So we realize that if you don't proactively come up with proper policies and legislation and regulations to foster this kind of environment, then you may be left behind in terms of attracting investments into your region. So we're of the view that we come up with a conference which will enable us come up with all the necessary requirements to position Nyanza as a location for investment, either from local entrepreneurs or international entrepreneurs. That was the thinking and the context in which we decided to hold this conference.
Right.
Yes.
Let me perhaps come to you, Ken. Why now? And what's different about this investment conference? Because we had several similar conferences in the region.
Nyanza is actually ripe for this kind of intervention. Nyanza is blessed with some of the most amazing brains that are there. And one thing that the professionals felt is that this is time for us to come and partner with both the central government and the local government to help change the fortunes of what we have in Nyanza. As you may be aware, Nyanza lags behind in most of the statistics around development, and it was our feeling that the missing link has been this issue of professionals coming, giving back, and helping partner with international investors. We do have the local knowledge, which is always missing and which has been responsible for some of the failures of some of the startups and businesses that have been set up in Nyanza.
Right. The concern then would be, what return on investment will this conference have, Dr. Molo, on both investors, but more importantly, the residents of Nyanza themselves? What development will they get out of this?
Now, if you look at our expected outcomes, for example, if you look at the blue economy, there are a lot of opportunities for investors that can, that can be made from this particular economy. For example, in the fishing industry, we can have investors who can come in and invest in the fishing industry, fish processing industry, and export this fish outside the country. So this will be a win-win for the locals, because they will be producing the fish locally, and then the investor will be able to process it and sell it either in the international markets or the local markets. So it's a win-win formula for the residents and the investors that are going to come into the conference. Yes, that is one perspective. Yes, right. Yes.
It's interesting to see such developments, but then the Lake Region Economic Bloc itself was established for the sole purpose of ensuring that the regions or counties within the region benefit from the resources within the region themselves. What has the challenge been, and what's going to be different in this particular approach?
Okay. First of all, to just also add to the last question, there is a direct trickle-down effect when you bring in an industry or when you set up a business. So in as much as some of these businesses we're targeting at the formal, factories, that sort of thing, we're looking at that trickle-down effect that will happen. Now, to come back to this question you're asking about what is different, one of the things that is very, very different is that for the first time we are approaching things as a region. And that's why we're talking about 6 counties. And when you look at the scale of 6 counties from the perspective of market size, from the perspective of economies of scale, you end up with something that could be interesting to an investor. So yes, we are here. Right now we are looking at Nyanza as Nyanza. So Nyanza is part of the Lake region, of course. And we are looking to plug with even the Lake region because today there is a block. Governors are already leading an initiative that is around the Lake region, looking at the region as a region. So that is one thing that will be different. The other thing that is definitely different is what is the local expertise that will be brought to the table when local professionals, both in Kenya and in the diaspora, take part in development. We do have the local knowledge, as I said earlier, and that is what we bring to the table. So if you have an Italian coming in to start a venture, we will have a system that would allow, you know, that partnership to happen.
Now, Nyanza counties themselves, 6 of them, have a great vantage position in providing, among others, a conducive investment climate and business operating environment. But the overall business environment in the country has taken a hit due to several factors, many of them external factors. But we've been speaking about the cost of doing business. The business environment isn't very conducive. We're in the middle of the finance bill, public participation. We've seen major investors come out and say, even the proposed tax proposals in the next financial year may see many businesses shut down. What are some of the conversations we're likely to see at this conference within this context?
One of the things we want to do, and we know our investors are sensitive to, is what we call the framework. How are they coming in? What sort of incentives will they be given? So for this particular Nyanza Investment Conference, we are looking to partner with state agencies that today have pre-existing incentives and offers on the table. Right. So when you look at an organization like Special Economic Zones, you're looking at tax holidays, you're looking at incentives that are there to basically allow a startup, a one-stop system that would ease this whole issue of licensing, for example. So that is one of the things that we will be discussing in this conference. We'll be partnering with, of course, our governors and other stakeholders that are very important to address these issues. We recently had a meeting with the European Union where they shared with us their 10-point concerns. We'll be looking to offer creative solutions to these sort of challenges.
Dr. Omolo, within the last 2 decades or so, the Nyanza region has suffered collapse of, among others, the formal sector. We've seen industrial activities also on the decline, despite the region having rich resources. This investment conference is meant to spur development or economic empowerment of the people. And this would essentially mean then expanding their ability, to make money within their socio-economic realms. How then would residents within the Nyanza region benefit directly from this conference when it comes to things like job creation, for example?
Yes, as I indicated earlier, if you look at it from the perspective of the kind of value chains that will be involved in some of these investments, then we expect the people of Nyanza to plug into these value chains so that they can maximize the incomes or opportunities that can be obtained from these value chains. For example, in the past, what has happened is that the fish farmers, for example, have been selling their fish to the middlemen. And the middlemen, in turn, take the products to other markets and obtain much higher value than the actual farmer on the ground. So what we want to do is to help our people plug in at the right level of the value chain. For example, if we can have a factory, for example, located in the region, then these particular farmers can bypass the middlemen, and this will ensure that they get the kind of returns that they ought to receive from this kind of activities, which in the past has not happened because they have been plugging into the. So that's the way we are looking at it. Level of the value for maximum benefit.
There's been a lot of concerns with regard to the blue economy sector within the Nyanza region, which essentially has potential to be a huge driver of economic and development in the region. Now, when you speak to blue economy stakeholders, we've seen the government sign deals with countries like Korea for jobs within the blue economy sector, and you hear that Kenya can only provide about 200 graduates when it comes to seafaring and other issues. And there's been talk of perhaps even broadening water transport within the lake region as well. When you talk about blue economy, what conversations are we likely to see within this investment, and what prospects lie for this sector?
Yes, in the context of the blue economy, one of the things that we expect to achieve through this conference is, for example, come up with training centers for our young people in the blue economy. So some investors can come in and set up these training centers for our young people. And by training this kind of young people, then we'll be able to export this labor to countries like South Korea that you've mentioned. So this is one of the areas of investments that is open to potential investors. They can come in, set up these training institutions, collaborate with our TVETs, and of course you're aware that the national government is also trying to expand the TVETs in the country. So by getting investors to invest in this kind of training institutions, then we'll be able to plug that kind of gap that you alluded to, in terms of the number of our young people that can work or can be certified to work in foreign markets. Yes, yes.
Then the strategic location of the Nyanza region gives it a bigger advantage when it comes to development. This particular conference seeks to attract not just local investors, but international investors as well. And this means opening up socioeconomic activities in the Nyanza region to international markets too. What international markets are we looking at?
So, for example, look at an aspect like tourism. We are today not connected to the tourism circuit, despite our location. And here we're talking about the North Tanzania circuit. We're also talking about just the Lake Region circuit. So, of course, we want to take cognizance of the fact that the government will be investing in a road circuit that will connect the lake. That will be quite powerful, as it will enable us to unlock investments. And I'm talking about, for example, investments like in hoteling, you know, having 3-star hotels, 4-star hotels, where we can be able to bring in tourists. Even if they go to the Mara and they go to Tanzania, they later on also come and spend their money in Kenya. So that is just one sector that, that our location advantage gives. Nyanza is a gateway to about 3 countries that you can reach through Nyanza. So co-locating within Nyanza itself allows you to access all those markets. We're talking about from the Uganda side to the Tanzania side. So there's a big locational advantage, and that is one of the issues we are pitching to potential local and international investors.
Who will be part of this investment conference? Because we did, earlier in the year hear governors from, Nyanza region counties distancing themselves, saying they've been sidelined in the planning of this investment conference itself. Who will be in attendance in this event?
Yes. Yes, we have been engaging the governors in this conference, and we are still engaging them, and I'm sure that they will be able to be involved in the conference, because this is basically for the people of Nyanza. We are doing this for the people of Nyanza, and the governors are also there to support the people of Nyanza. So this is something which we are engaging them, and ultimately it will be a win-win solution for all the parties and the stakeholders who will be involved in this conference. All right.
Yes. We've seen largely the involvement of the ICT Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo in the planning of this conference. So what prospects are there for the ICT sector, which is a huge, plays a center role right now when it comes to development, especially job creation for the youth?
The ICT sector is a low-lying fruit. We have flagged it as a low-lying fruit. This will be one conference where, for example, we'll allow the participation of our diaspora through ICT, for example. ICT, as you know, it's a low-lying fruit merely from the fact that for you to repurpose train a young person to be able to partake in the global economy, it's very, very easy. So we are looking at that as one lead sector among other sectors that are low-lying fruits. Yes.
Among the barriers to development in the counties, and even with conferences such as this one, has been even just cross-county trade. or inter-county trade within Kenya itself, not outside the borders. How far have we gone in removing these barriers to trade within the counties so that we have even counties within the Nyanza region trade seamlessly with each other?
Okay, I think one thing that I'll say is that our governors have done a commendable job, the governors in the Lake region, in trying to address that particular issue, removing barriers that would allow, you know, a trader who is in Kisii, for example, to very easily trade in Kisumu and other markets. So a lot of work is going there. We are not yet there where we would say that it is almost seamless, because obviously all these people they're looking at raising income and that sort of thing. So there are challenges in that space. These are some of the issues that we want to discuss in the conference as to how we'll facilitate that intra-county trade, inter-regional trade, and how, more important, we'll access markets. I know today we have a lot of partners on the ground, you know, like the European Union and others, who are looking to facilitate that whole issue around easing the cost of doing business and making it easy for traders to have larger markets than their own county. Yeah.
All right, and that's an interesting conversation. As we wind up, Dr. Molo, what are your expectations from the outcome of this two-day conference?
Well, we expect to sign at least a minimum of 10 investment agreements, and if possible, even more. So one of the outcomes is that we'll be able to sign substantive agreements with local and international investors to start businesses in some of the areas that we have mentioned in the blue economy, for example, training our young people, training institutes, fish processing, and other related areas. So our expected outcome is to kickstart this process and ensure that our people start benefiting immediately from this particular conference.
All right.
Yes.
Because we've had several of these conferences in different counties, even as we wind up, sustainability has been an area of concern. You know, we have conferences, we have development, partnerships signed, but how do we ensure fruition or completion of these projects that have been envisioned?
Okay, thank you for that question. Yes, it is true that we've had a lot of interventions to try and many investment conferences. One of the things that will be different with this one is that this is an inaugural conference, so we'll have many others that follow suit. And more important, we are not just interested in the party, if I can call it like that, the 2 days that people meet, present papers and that sort of thing. We're interested in what happens after that party. So we're looking to having a situation where we will have one-stop interventions that ensure projects move from the stage where we're signing agreements into a stage where there is implementation. And the professionals of the Nyanza professional group will be looking to partner, especially with the counties, to make this happen. Because we do understand there are a lot of teething issues that happen between when you sign ink on a paper to when you actually see a bankable project that is running. Yeah.
All right, so finally, Dr. Molo, when will this investment conference take place? Where will it take place? And how can Kenyans be a part of this?
Yes, our conference will take place in Kisumu at Siala Resort on the 28th and 29th of this month. And we have already opened a website where participants can register to attend the conference. And we are also sending out invitations to different individuals that we expect to attend the conference. Yes, so there is online registration available on our website, and we are also sending specific invitations to different people to attend the conference. Yes, yes.
Ken, your final comment. Your expectations from this conference, perhaps some of the thematic areas that you're looking forward to.
Okay. We are quite excited that for the first time, we are able to at least attempt to do something that will change the fortunes of the people in the region. The region has about 26 existing crops within the agricultural docket that we can do value addition. So that is in addition to issues like the blue economy and many other issues like ICT, as you brought up. So in terms of expectations, if we sign one, personally, even if we were to sign one bankable project that transitions into an industry, that to me will be a major, major win. Because for this region, what has been missing is a formula. So we want a situation where we do something that tries and we end up with a result. So once we have this formula, there'll be much more opportunity to have many more factories and deals come through.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. This is, of course, coming as Kenya is in the middle of that budget process, and it's interesting to see what those tax proposals will, the impact of those tax proposals will be on the Nyanza region as well. Gentlemen, many, many thanks for your time. We're discussing the Nyanza International Investment Conference set to take place at the end of this month to promote economic growth and development of the Nyanza region. Many thanks, gentlemen. That is Dr. Amos William Omolo, who is an international business legal advisor, as well as Ken Mohochu, who is an entrepreneur with over 22 years of experience in, among others, banking and education. Many thanks for your time. Let's take a break here on New Dawn. When we come back, we'll take a look at the state of the nation as the country counts down to budget day. Just stay with us.
Everybody has got to learn how to put in some effort and some energy in order to make their dreams come to pass.